Uh, my name's Larry Brinson, and I'm going to give a little testimony that my daughter wanted me to give for her. And I told her I would, and this is for my daughter and all my loved ones and all my family. I guess I call it my last will and testament, or when you're croaking, I reckon. But anyhow, I'm about half crazy, but I'll get started. And I want to go on back about, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, maybe 25, when I was living in sin, didn't know no better, blind as a bat. And I had lost my family because I drank, didn't do right, didn't take care of them. And I got a divorce and went along there, and I still got crazy and wild, still sowing my wild seeds, and still didn't know no better, blind as a bat. And then as the years rolled by, it sort of caught up with me. Got a little bit older, a little bit wiser. And I got to thinking about the family that I had lost, and it hurt me so much. And it hurt me about my two daughters, Shannon and Lori, and that I didn't do what I belonged to do. And I've always heard the voice of the Lord ever since I've been little. And I guess that's a plus, I guess. Because I remember when I was in the first grade, the teacher used to tell me, "Who you talking to?" I said, "The Lord." She said, "Well, you ain't going to talk to him in here?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." But I went on talking to him anyhow. She said, "Well, you better go stand in that corner if you're going to keep talking to that Jesus of yours." Well, I went to the corner. But guess what? I kept on talking to my Jesus. I go home, I said, "Mama," I said, "that teacher, she made me stand in that corner again because I talked to Jesus." She said, "Larry," she said, "you keep talking to Jesus no matter what." Because she said, "That's special that you hear his voice." And she said, "Son, there's going to come a day that God's going to tell you what to tell them. And you're going to break them yokes and reach lost souls. And I promise you, son, they won't lay a hand on you then, because you'll be covered in the blood." And I remember my mama telling me that. So as years went by, I thought about that. I said, "Lord, I've always heard you, but I just didn't do right in life." He says, "No, Larry, you hadn't." And I said, "Well, Lord, I guess it's about time I got on that journey to serve you, Lord." Because I said, I've lost my family and I lost my young ones. And I said, there ain't too much left out here for me. And I went on and about my business. I had it in my heart to do right. And I got sick. I got real sick. I went to the doctor and they told me, "Well, boy, you got cancer. And it's done eat you up." Kind of upset me a little bit because I was living with a friend, and I went back and told her, I said, "Well, I got cancer and I ain't going to live long." She said, "Well, what are you going to do?" I said, "Well, I'm going to pray and hope I go to heaven." And I said, "I got to leave him." She said, "Well, why?" I said, "Because we ain't married." And I said, "The Lord told me you don't serve two masters." She says, "Okay." I really didn't have nowhere to go. But the Lord let this lady give me an old house out in the country. It was really a barn when they moved it up there. Wasn't too much to it. Had holes all in the roof, cold place. Had two little old fish ponds out there, and I said, "Well, Lord," I said, "this is better than nothing." And I was laying there with that one night, and I was so sick. Lord come in the room. I said, "Well, Lord, I've always heard you, but I've never seen you." But I said, "I know it's you." He said, "Larry, where are you going?" I said, "Lord, I hope I'm going to heaven." He says, "No, Larry, you're going to hell." And when my Lord told me that, it was the awfulest thing I've ever heard. And I went to screaming, "No, Lord, I don't want to go to hell." And he left. And I cried and I pleaded. He come back about an hour later. He said, "Larry," I said, "Yes, Lord." He said, "You don't serve two masters." I said, "Lord, I don't understand what you're telling me." He said, well, you just don't sin and serve me too. And I said, Lord, is it the drinking? He said, yeah. I said, is it the lying? He said, yeah. I said, well, Lord, I understand what you're talking about, because I do know right from wrong. He said, well, I tell you what, he said, I'll make a deal with you. I said, please do, Lord, because I don't want to go to hell. He said, if you'll serve me and reach them lost souls because you hear my voice, he said, I'm going to give you some extra years. And boy, I come up off that bed and I said, yes, Lord. I said, I'll make that deal. But he said, if you ever turn back, he said, I'm going to send you to hell. And I said, Lord, if you'll just give me determination and strength to never go back, I said, Lord, I'll serve you till the day I die. And I'll sell out to you 100%. He said, good enough. Well, that next morning I went to town. I went to telling my friends, I ain't going to die. I'm saved and I'm going to go to heaven. I went on back to the doctor and I told them. They said, you ain't got long to live, Larry. I said, no, you're wrong. I said, the Lord done told me if I'd serve him, he's going to let me live. They looked at me like I was sort of crazy. But that was about 15 years ago. I'm still living. I guess I proved them wrong. At least the Lord did. And I've never turned back. I'm still serving him, and I'm still reaching a lost soul. And I surely hear his voice. But my family never understood me. They still thought I was half crazy about hearing the Lord's voice. Even when I was sick with cancer, they didn't too much want to have nothing to do with me. Didn't have too many friends, but it didn't matter. I had Jesus. And I said, Lord, if I got you, I don't guess I need nothing else. And I was still sick. They were still pecking at me, giving me treatments. But I knew I was going to live, and I was going to be all right. Because in the end, they put me a miracle from the Lord up there in Macon and said, brother, that was a miracle happened to you. I said, yes, it was. But as I was going through the sickness, there was times I didn't have much to eat. Cold, no heat. Not too many people come by and seen about me except the ones who wanted me to pray for them. And then at that old house that was right by the road, there was a little highway. And I was sitting on the doorstep one night, and I looked out across the old field, and I said, you know, Lord, I said, you told us to go in your closet and pray. And I said, Lord, I'm going to go in that highway. The old devil didn't like that. He said, you go ahead, you crazy thing. He said, I'll run over you. I said, maybe not. The Lord told me I could pray anywhere I wanted to, and that's holy grounds. I hit that highway, and I went to praying. And I stayed out there many a days, many a nights, praying to the Lord, and I'd sing to him, and we would have a good time. And he taught me a lot of things in that highway, even when I was sick. I had a little old dog. He used to go out there with me, and I'd sing and go to shouting. He'd go to shouting with me. I called him my shouting little dog. That old dog was a blessing. The Lord took him on home. I miss him. But I stood there. I said, you know, Lord, I said, it's a shame I didn't find you before I lost my family. I said, that's a shame. Because I miss my two girls, and I ain't seen them, Lord, since they've been little old bitty there. So I had a piece of chalk, and I went to drawing circles in the highway, and I put their little names up there. And I said, well, Lord, I said, I'm going to stand in this circle with my youngest names, and I'm going to pray that you save their soul. And I said, Lord, I may not ever get to see them down here, but Lord, if I can just see them in heaven, to tell them that I'm so sorry that I just didn't raise them right. And I prayed that prayer many, many years, over and over and over. And I wrote some more names in them circles, and I prayed for them, my loved ones, my brothers and my sisters. And right now, some of them's done dead and gone on to be with the Lord. And them prayers was answered. Because I was real. I prayed real. And I said, Lord, they ain't going to believe I hear you when I tell them them things. He said, it don't matter, Larry. He said, tell them anyhow. But I said, Lord, I said, I got to have more than what these church people's got, Lord. I said, I have been in them, Lord, and they look dead, and they look sad. And I said, Lord, from what you taught me, you're going to be happy with peace, joy in your life. And I said, Lord, I got to have that, and I got to be different. And he honored that. I do some crazy little things. but they bowed to the Lord. But he said, Larry, he said, you're going to do things that they're not going to understand. They're going to make fun of you. And they're going to mock you. And surely they're going to say you ain't real. But I said, Lord, that's okay. That's fine, because they said the same thing about you. I said, they said you was by the devil too, so I guess if that's the way you was treated, I can handle it too. And believe it or not, I went to revivals and got choked, thrown out, because I had a wild shout. My head got to shaking. They thought it was a demon in it. So they tried to choke that demon out of my head, and I said, Lord, if they don't turn me loose, I'm going on to be with you. Got run over one time outside church. So yeah, the Lord was right. I've been through it. I've been put down and bought. All them old good things. But I'm not complaining. I ain't griping. That's a part of it. But there's one thing for sure. I look back over the years. What I told them come to pass. Because it was not me that told them. It was the Lord. And I had so many to come up to me years later and said, Brother, you know what you told me years ago? I said, no, I don't. Well, I do. And I thought you was just as crazy as a bedbug. But it come to pass. I said, thank you, Jesus. Because I said, it ain't me that made it come to pass. I said, it's the Lord. I said, all I am is an old laborer. But it worked, and I've had a good time, but I'm growing old. Let me go back just a little bit. I got better when I was in that old house, and I stayed there many years, cold and freezing. But I got better and better, and the Lord kept sending people out there to it, and I'd tell them some things, and God would save them, deliver them alcohol, drugs. I had him come out here and said, Brother Larry, he said, they say I'm hooked on crack cocaine and I can't get off. There's no way possible. I said, brother, that's a lie from the pits of hell. But I can't do it. There's no way. I just know I can't. I said, brother, let me tell you one thing. I said, I serve a God that can, brother. Well, Brother Larry, I don't know how. I said, well, come on, we're going to pray. Because if the Lord done it for me, he's going to do it for you. And I'd go to praying for him that was hooked on alcohol and them drugs, honey, and I seen the Lord break and set them free many a time. Some of them the Lord has took on home. Some of them still serving the Lord. But let me tell you something, folks. God's the answer. There's hope out here. You don't have to get hooked on pills and alcohol, and meth, crack, cocaine, and all them things. You don't have to put a gun to your head and blow your brains out thinking you're going to do yourself a favor. Because I done been there wanting to do that. But I found hope. I found hope in the Lord. And I don't think about them crazy things no more, because that's from the pits of hell. And I'm just telling you, God's the answer. You don't want to even go there. You don't want to do that. It's not worth it. It ain't worth it. Hang in with the Lord. He'll give you that peace, joy, and happiness. It's the only way you're going to get it. Psychiatrists can't give it to you. Ouija boards can't give it to you. Leo Cleo can't give it to you. But honey, the Lord will, because he said there's no respectable person. I love you all. What I done for one, I'll do for another. And I have seen many souls get delivered in my life. And that's a blessing, because I didn't do it. It was the Lord. But as life rolled along, the Lord gave me a little old trailer to put by that old house, and I helped tear that little old cold thing down. Made me feel so good to get in that little old trailer where it was warm. It wasn't big. But then a doggone two big old wolf rats got my duck. It sounded like a devil trying to get me every night, and that scared me to death. But it didn't matter. It was a lot better than being cold. But later on, I got a little letter. And I opened that letter, because nobody ever wrote me no letters, except my donors. But this letter wasn't from a donor. I opened that thing up, and I got to reading, and I can't hardly read too good, or spell. But I seen a name, and I said, and that name was called Shannon. And I said, Lord, that's my youngest name. That's my oldest daughter. And I got to reading that letter that day, and my heart broke. I said, Lord, I said, I thought I'd never see my young'uns again. But I said, I'm reading a letter from my girl, and she says, Daddy, would you be my daddy? And my heart failed. And believe it or not, that was a miracle, because I had done give my youngest to the Lord. But I'm with my daughter now, and her name's Shannon. And she's saved, and she loves her daddy, and her daddy loves her. And if nothing ever happens in my life, that was my miracle from the Lord, of doing what he told me to do. But I have learned there's nothing impossible for the Lord to do. And I'll tell anybody out there, you can sure mess up your life, but God to get it right in the end. And he got it right for me. And I'm still with my young'un, and we sang country gospel together, and she's a blessing to me. And I guess that's the only reason I'm still hanging on, because of my young'un. Because if not, I'd have went on home to be with the Lord a long time ago. But I got one more, my youngest daughter, that I've been praying for. And I told the Lord many a time, I said, well, Lord, if I don't see her down here, I'll meet her in heaven to save her soul. And I can tell her that I'm sorry when I get to heaven. But you never know how the Lord works. There may come a day I might get a little letter from her. And I'll get to tell her how sorry Daddy was. But it wasn't all bad. I didn't assert them totally. Because they was like probably 15, 20 years I prayed for them girls on my knees, and I cried out to the Lord, Lord, save my young'uns. I don't know what he is, what they doing, but I said, Lord, save them and take care of them. And I said, Lord, I can't pay them back for what I done to them, but honey, my prayers, I hope, will save them, Lord. And from what I see, it's coming to pass, and I want to thank the Lord for it. And I think sometimes life's hard, and it is. It's not easy. But I'm happy in my soul, and I'm happy in my life. Because I know I serve a Lord that the peace that he has put upon my brains that was once burnt is a wonderful feeling. And as this old life comes against me, with sorrow, whatever, it don't too much matter. Because I got the Lord, and I hear his voice. And I got my young'uns, and I got my friends, and I got my loved ones. But folks, I'm telling you this day, serve Jesus. Time's running out. He don't promise us tomorrow. Tomorrow may be our last. Pray for your loved ones. Pray, pray, pray. The Lord will hear you, and he'll help you. You don't have to do them crazy things. There is the answer, and the answer is Jesus. Oh, Jesus of Nazareth. But I guess that sort of is my old testimony. And I hope I be here many more years to reach the lost. Even though them people think I'm crazy and they just think I ain't real, it don't too much matter what they think. It used to hurt me many times because of the way they talked about me. And I said, Lord, I'm real, I know. But they say I ain't, but it don't matter. As long as the Lord's well pleased with me. And a new name's written. Because I'm going to keep on holding on, Lord. I'm going to keep on holding on. I got this little song. I don't have no music to back it up, but it's kind of like a little old song I used to sing to the Lord in that old highway I prayed in for so many years. I am going where I've never been. I am going where there's no sin. I will join my Lord and friends. Yes, I am going where I've never been. I have traveled life's weary highways. Now my last journey is at hand. and I can hear the angels calling, and I am going where I've never been.